Here are 3 big stories to watch in 2025. Hi there, everyone. I'm Jeff, and this is Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English with current events and trending topics. When you listen here, you'll get exposure to new words and new ideas in English. Our stories are about current events, trending topics, and things I think you'll enjoy listening to. Today's story is 3 stories in one. Every time we flip the calendar to a new year, it's natural to think about what's coming up in the next 12 months. So today, we'll talk about 3 stories that I'll be watching this year. This is episode number 738 of Plain English. That means you can find the full transcript and learning activities at plainenglish.com/738. Now, the big news here at Plain English is that we are changing things up for the new year. We are separating the expressions from the stories. That means the podcast you're listening to now will only be the stories. A different podcast feed will have the new expressions going forward. So I'll share more about this in a special episode here in this feed. And if you're on our email list, I'll send you some emails about it. For now, though, this episode is just the story, and you can find the transcript at plainenglish.com/738. Before we start today's story, I'd just like to remind you that the podcast is just one part of how we can help you upgrade your English skills. At plainenglish.com, you can make faster progress with active learning strategies. You can take quizzes, do activities, listen to the fast version of the audio, watch video workshops, practice what you learn, and even join a live call with JR and me. It's all about helping you build your skills to become a better, more confident English speaker. Sound good? Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today. Now, let's jump into today's story. The calendar has turned to 2025, so it's natural to think about the 12 months ahead of us. There are lots and lots of stories that will unfold over the next 12 months, but I picked out 3 stories that I'll be following this year. Number 1, what will the return of Donald Trump mean to the world's biggest economy? And what will it mean to America's trading partners? Number 2, after almost 3 years of grinding war, what's in store for Ukraine and Russia? And number 3, investors are plowing money into AI data centers. So what will AI look like a year from now? Let's start with the return of Donald Trump. During his campaign, and then after the election, Trump promised to raise tariffs. A tariff is a tax on an import. So any country that produces parts or finished goods destined for the American market would have to pay the tax as the goods enter the country. If a consumer buys a t-shirt from China, the seller would have to pay a tax when the t-shirt crosses the border and enters the United States. If a car maker imports a component from Mexico, the supplier would have to pay that tax before that part makes it to the assembly line. There is some debate about who pays the tariff, but it's generally accepted that this raises prices and reduces the overall benefit of trade. Trump has promised to raise tariffs on all imports, but to specifically raise them on imports from China, Mexico, and Canada. If this happens, it will seriously disrupt the trading relationships between the U.S. and other countries. And other countries have said that if the U.S. raises tariffs, the other countries, will do the same, so that American-made goods destined for other markets will also pay a price. If the U.S. and its trading partners all raise taxes on each other, consumers around the world will pay in the form of higher prices. But Trump has often threatened high tariffs only to back off later in negotiations. So the story to follow is this: will Trump follow through on his threats to raise tariffs? And if so, how will the world respond? It has been almost 3 years since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. The war has left hundreds of thousands of people dead and wounded. It has torched cities, upended lives, and decimated the economies of both countries. In the war's stunning first few months, Russia took control of some Ukrainian territory, but most of the war has been a grinding fight over limited territory, with each side suffering devastating casualties and not making much tangible progress. Ukraine's stated goal is to recoup all the territory it has lost and recapture territory that Russia took in 2014. They have a strong legal and moral case for this, but a very harsh reality is that Russia does not recognize Ukraine's rights here, and Russia is not giving up. Ukraine and Russia can ill afford another year of fighting to a stalemate. Donald Trump has said he wants to negotiate an end to the fighting. Even the Ukrainian president has said he imagines the war will end sooner now that Trump is in office. This year, Russia and Ukraine might negotiate an end to the fighting. Ukrainians have fought bravely to defend their capital and preserve their culture, country, territory, and independence. To cede territory to Russia would be a painful pill to swallow. Even so, Ukraine may decide that a negotiated peace is the best way forward this year. If that happens, then a lot will be riding on the terms of the deal. To accept any loss of territory, Ukraine would push hard for security guarantees from Europe and the US, and a path to membership in NATO or the EU. Russia would push for a weaker Ukraine that it can continue to influence and intimidate in the future. How this gets resolved will matter far beyond the front lines of today's war. The third story I'll be watching this year is the development of artificial intelligence. Now, here's how I would summarize the last 2 years. ChatGPT came out in late 2022, and in 2023, the world was playing around with large language models and imagining what might be possible. In 2024, companies and individuals started trying out ways to incorporate AI in their lives and business processes, some with greater success than others. Large company bosses say they are interested in using AI, but many haven't implemented it yet on a large scale. They're afraid of things like data privacy, mistakes, and the cost of training employees to use it. And while they're impressed with AI in general, many company bosses aren't yet convinced they can reliably use it in their own businesses. Small and medium-sized companies have been quicker to adapt. Many companies now use AI behind the scenes. Others have added AI tools into their products, but it's still early days. Some industries have benefited more than others. What will 2025 bring? I'll be watching to see how businesses use AI to make their products better, make their people happier, and improve productivity. I might say the same thing next January, though. A recent survey of company bosses showed that fewer than 10% of large businesses plan to invest seriously in AI in 2025. I use a lot of software that has AI built right into the product, and most of them are useless. Some of them are just embarrassingly bad. Like a company decided, okay, we're building AI into our tool, and didn't even care about whether it helped the customer or not. But some companies have really gotten it right, and I'm really impressed with how they've built AI into their products. Well, like most new tools, the secret is not in simply having the tool, but in finding ways to use it effectively. And sometimes that means knowing when not to use it. Well, that brings us to the end of Plain English for today, Monday, January 6th, 2025. A new year already. Happy New Year, and congratulations on all the great work you are doing here in Plain English and in all the other English learning tools you use. And if you're a teacher, we have a lot of teachers in the audience. If you're a teacher, well, hats off to you too. This has been episode number 738. So remember, you can listen to the fast audio, read the transcripts, get the built-in translations, and do all the practice activities at plainenglish.com/738. We'll be back on Thursday. See you then. Listen up. If you speak Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, or Turkish. One of the most frustrating things about listening and reading in a second language is being confused by unfamiliar words or phrases. When you listen to Plain English, or when you read the transcript, you probably encounter some words you don't know. When that happens, you have a few options. You can stop the audio, go look up the definition, then return to the episode, find your place, and press play again, but that's exhausting. Or you can just skip it and be confused. That's no fun either. But what if you could see the translation of the word into your language instantly without having to stop the audio, without having to look anything up? Well, you can at plainenglish.com. For each episode, we translate about 100 words and phrases from English to 9 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, and Turkish. And we highlight those words in blue. All you have to do is hover your mouse over the highlighted word and you'll see the translation instantly. It works great on mobile too. It really makes listening a lot more satisfying, and it's a great way to expand your vocabulary in English. The best way to see these translations is to sign up for a free 14-day trial at plainenglish.com. During your trial, you can read as many transcripts as you like, all with the translations into your language. So sign up for your free trial today at plainenglish.com.